A beautiful nurse goes missing. Did she simply walk away from everyone she loved, or did someone make that decision for her?
Beyond death, nothing could keep her away from her kid.
Only one clue surfaces.
Her truck was found.
The driver caught on camera.
An unknown suspicious male exited the vehicle.
Where is Peggy McGuire? Her family and friends say they believe they know, and they'd bet the farm on it.
Do you think he was involved in some way?
Is this going to be on TV? Yes.
Growing up in the small town of Eufaula, Oklahoma, Peggy McGuire was a country girl through and through.
Tell me about Peggy.
Oh, she loved fishing, she loved hunting, she loved camping.
In Eufaula, neighbors are not just like family, they often are family. Elizabeth Leeper is Peggy's best friend, co-worker, and cousin.
How would you describe Peggy?
Just a really, really sweet, sweet soul. Big heart, cares about everyone.
And one of those people Peggy cared about most was Thomas McIntosh.
What attracted her to him?
She liked the country life. That's how they clicked.
As sophomores, they became high school sweethearts, but not everyone was doing backflips over their love.
She was beautiful, beautiful. She could have had any guy she wanted, and he was so awkward, rude, and unsocial.
Even despite a lot of serious red flags.
I don't know how many times he broke her windows out of her car, smashed the doors in.
Over jealousy.
Yeah, if she talked to other boys.
And according to Elizabeth, that jealousy escalated to even scarier levels.
You saw an incident play out in high school.
They come back from lunch and her nose was bloody, and she made me take her to the ER, and later she told me that he had got mad at her and he took a pistol and backhanded her with the back end of the pistol.
Peggy's friends and family claim the abuse only grew worse, but despite an eventual protective order against Thomas, Peggy would often return. During one of those times, the couple became parents to a boy named Ethan.
How was she as a mom?
She was insanely phenomenal as a mom.
Desperately seeking a secure family life for Ethan, Peggy soon heads to Indiana with Thomas when he takes a new job. But a new state didn't make for a new man. In fact, things get worse.
He strangled her in front of Ethan.
This time, it's the final straw.
When she came home from Indiana, she was broken and beaten, but I think something clicked in her finally that she was not going back for Ethan's safety. I mean, he could have killed her.
Peggy presses charges against McIntosh, but later drops them. She eventually moves back in with him, living in this house, the relationship now only platonic, and Peggy has a plan.
She decided she was going to become a nurse and better her life for her and her little boy, and she didn't need him.
With a degree in hand and a good job at a nursing home, Peggy starts dating other men, all while making her biggest plan to finally get free.
She had told me she was going to go to her mom's apartment, so she was going to need the weekend off so she could move her things.
That weekend would never come. It's a Monday in mid-November. Peggy finishes a double shift at the nursing home, picks up Ethan, then drops him off at school. On her way home, Peggy calls her stepfather, Donnie Davis.
And how did you two get off the phone?
It was like, I love you and see you later.
But he doesn't. Peggy's mom, Betty, calls, no answer, straight to voicemail. The next day, when Elizabeth calls, the same, but she's not worried. She knows something the others don't. Peggy has plans to meet up with a guy she's been talking to, Richard.
She was like, don't call me Tuesday because I am not coming to work. I am going to meet him. He's coming in from Texas.
But as the hours tick by,
I started messaging her pretty rapidly. People are looking for you. Just tell me that you're okay and I'll leave you alone. Nothing.
So Elizabeth goes to her house.
None of her personal things were there, like a hairbrush or her nurse bag, shoes, those kind of things.
Neither is her truck. Elizabeth heads to Ethan's school.
She was the only person that ever picked him up from school. So I'm sitting in the school parking lot and Thomas comes to pick up Ethan. I called Betty and I was like, you need to call the cops right now. She's not here. She should be. She was supposed to meet with this Richard guy.
28-year-old nurse Peggy McGuire is missing. Last seen on a Monday morning dropping her son Ethan off at school. Peggy allegedly had plans Tuesday with her new boyfriend Richard, who's coming in from Texas to see her. Could Peggy possibly be off rendezvousing with him?
I even went as far as getting Richard's phone number and being like, did you meet her? And he didn't. He actually had to stay in Texas, which sent up even more red flags.
Immediately, Peggy's mother, Betty Davis, reports her missing to the McIntosh Sheriff's Department. The family launches a desperate investigation of their own. Within hours, they get their first break.
Her brother found her truck at a bar close to where she lives.
Peggy's truck is found at TJ's Ice House, a rural roadside bar. Strangely, a place she doesn't frequent. And the family uncovers something else. Surveillance video of someone early Tuesday morning seen dropping off the truck and walking away into the rainy darkness.
What do you remember looking through that video that night?
It was about 5 o'clock in the morning. Her truck was left here in the parking lot. We couldn't tell who was walking away. We could see a figure, but it was too rainy and too dark.
But it wasn't too dark or rainy for Peggy's family. They think they might know who's on that video.
The way he walked, just the profile, it appeared to me that it was Thomas.
Thomas McIntosh, Peggy's ex-boyfriend and the father of their young son, Ethan.
I knew it was him. He gets out, he puts his hands in his pocket, just how he's walking.
When McIntosh hears the truck's been found, he goes to the bar. Sheriff's deputies talk to him. He offers up an interesting theory.
Thomas told them that she ran away. Why? Why would she run away? Her little boy was her life. She wouldn't leave us. There's no reason.
Did Peggy run away? Then, out of the mouths of babes, a potential bombshell when young Ethan allegedly tells a family member something that could dispute his own father's story.
He had already taken Ethan by the vehicle before everyone found it and showed him, and told him that Mama had ran off with another guy and this is where she parked her vehicle. I immediately knew, everything in my body knew that he had done something.
Despite a known history of domestic trouble, sheriff's deputies don't name Thomas McIntosh a suspect. In the days and weeks that follow, many say the McIntosh Sheriff's Department also doesn't do much to investigate the case. Initially, there are no formal interviews, no search warrants issued, or official searches for the missing mom. Have valuable time and evidence been lost?
It's really hard in communities like this. His last name is McIntosh. We live in McIntosh County. His family is well known, and a lot of them are very good people. Some of them are not. I think that makes it really difficult for police and law officials to do their job.
Then finally, 2 weeks after Peggy McGuire disappeared, the McIntosh Sheriff's Department requests the assistance of the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations.
They thought that it was probably a homicide.
Special Agent Jenny Virden agreed to address the suspicious evidence in Peggy's disappearance, which started with that surveillance video.
Is that the moment where, as an investigator, you thought, okay, this is foul play?
Yes, I mean the timing of the vehicle being dropped off, it was about 5 a.m. The next day after she went missing by an unknown suspicious male that exited the vehicle, it looked suspicious.
Could you make out any characteristic whatsoever of the person?
I couldn't. Now, I will say that that bar is in with it's not far from a relative of Thomas McIntosh's. So that was kind of significant.
Investigators also talked to Peggy's new beau, Richard, who was supposed to meet up with her that Monday. He helps them pinpoint where she was during the call. Allegedly, they talked after she dropped her son off at school.
That friend verified that she told them that she was at home and that she was, making beef jerky.
You're referring to the guy she was dating?
Yes.
Is he the last person to talk to her?
Yes, as far as we know, he was. We think around 10 a.m. is when that conversation took place. After that, he got off the phone with her to take another call. When he tried to call back, it went to voicemail, and that phone was never turned back on.
OSBI pulls Peggy and McIntosh's cell phone records, which shows their approximate locations that Monday morning.
The day that she disappeared, there was a cell phone ping from her phone, also a cell phone ping from Thomas's phone in that house.
As far as being in the house, I don't know that, but I can say that they were in close proximity.
And many in the small farm town wonder, what exactly was McIntosh up to in the hours after Peggy dropped Ethan off at school? One of Peggy and Thomas's neighbors have some insight.
The neighbor said that morning, this shortly before noon, I saw Thomas come by with the tractor, and it's got a front end bucket on it, with the bucket raised way up in the air and driving pretty fast.
Now, the bucket raised way up in the air, are you saying that's abnormal?
Well, from what the neighbor said, you know, he usually don't come by with the bucket up in the air like that.
Right, it's down below.
Yes, it's down lower. And he said to his thought that Peggy's in that bucket.
Could that be? Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations is working the missing persons case of Peggy McGuire.
From everything you've gathered and know of this case, do you think it's a random act of violence or related?
I don't think that it would be a random act of violence.
Peggy's family and friends agree. They say they believe Peggy's ex-boyfriend, Thomas McIntosh, killed her.
Do you think he was involved in some way?
Yes,
Why?
because I know how he was. I've heard his threats. He's broke her nose. He's done so much to her. She was dating. He didn't want another man to be around his son.
Is he a person of interest, Thomas McIntosh?
Everybody's a person of interest in this case until Peggy McGuire is found.
And when Oklahoma State investigators hear about a strange sighting, a neighbor allegedly sees McIntosh driving a tractor with a bucket high in the air, theoretically carrying Peggy's body. They check it out.
Did you interview that neighbor?
I did talk to that neighbor, and what I can say is they saw a tractor that was going down the road that they thought belonged to Peggy and Thomas. So, of course, we did take that into account and searched it.
During OSBI's search of the tractor, they find small amounts of what could have been either blood or rust in the bucket. Hard to tell because of time, weather, and where. OSBI also conducts many other searches.
We ran search warrants on the house and vehicles, and we had drones that came down, and Oklahoma Highway Patrol brought their helicopters down to do a search of the area. We did bring cadaver dogs down, and we probably searched over 80 acres.
In the house Peggy and McIntosh shared, investigators find some trace amounts of blood in a few locations, on a sofa, on a pair of rubber gloves, and a utility pail. But the samples are so degraded they are unable to determine if it was human blood, much less Peggy's.
The family feels the Sheriff's Department was a little relaxed in their efforts to do anything within the first few weeks, such as searching the home. According to them, the house had been cleaned thoroughly by that time.
We would like to get involved a little bit earlier. Time is always of the essence.
But there's one person who says all the time in the world can't prove Thomas McIntosh had anything to do with Peggy's disappearance. His attorney, Keith McCarter, who agreed to address the accusations and evidence.
They could find absolutely no evidence that Peggy was harmed or that she was murdered.
McCarter claims that tractor story has a timeline problem.
That would have been the day before. He was moving some hay to prepare for the rains to come. That was on Sunday. So if the neighbor says that that was on Monday or Tuesday, that's just incorrect.
And he paints a very different picture of Peggy and Thomas's relationship, which changed significantly from their early high school sweetheart days.
Peggy would be gone on periodic occasion, and Thomas suspicioned that she was having relationships but he wasn't sure. But he wanted them to stay together, primarily for Ethan. But they were still living in Thomas's house. They were still together.
McGuire admitted Peggy's other relationships might have upset Thomas. Then we asked about allegations of domestic violence.
Yeah, it's a nice narrative. Unfortunately, the facts just don't corroborate it. There was an incident. I think he was arrested on some allegation of domestic violence. The case was eventually dropped.
McGuire says even family stories about McIntosh breaking Peggy's nose in high school are unprovable.
Have you seen any medical records about it? Well, there aren't any. These are kind of small town legends, all right, that develop. And a lot of them develop after someone disappears.
Crime Watch Daily could not obtain Peggy's medical records for the incident, but speaking of the missing persons case, we asked about the video of the unknown person dropping off Peggy's truck.
There's absolutely no way to identify who is in that hoodie. There's no face that is identifiable. When you look at that video, you could also say that that was Peggy.
It turns out Special Agent Jenny Virden and McGuire both say McIntosh's cell phone pings don't yield evidence, as he could have been at his nearby grandma's house. And investigators were not able to corroborate the story of little Ethan's father driving him past Peggy's truck, saying she had run off with another man.
Ethan never disclosed a comment like that to anybody from the Department of Human Services. Never disclosed a comment like that to his attorney in the case. Never disclosed a comment like that to the guardian ad litem in the case.
Bottom line for McGuire is the investigation has yielded no evidence.
I know that there are people down there who are hell-bent for Thomas to be charged. There's not enough evidence to prove a murder case beyond a reasonable doubt, and they would be charging an innocent man.
Despite accusations to the contrary, McGuire says Thomas McIntosh has helped in the search for Peggy and cooperated in the investigation.
He helped with the OSBI. I mean, he made everything available to them to look at. He spoke with them on numerous occasions. He did some of his own work to try to find out where she was. I mean, he did what he could.
Have you talked to Thomas McIntosh?
I have not personally talked to Thomas, but we do have someone that has talked to Thomas, and he said that the last time he saw her that she was leaving to take Ethan to school.
It's now been 2.5 years, and the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations is not giving up.
It is a suspicious missing persons. However, we do not think she is still alive.
Do you think it'll ever be solved?
I hope so.
She left her little cows and her dogs.
Until then, the family waits, hopes, and prays Peggy is soon found. Their only chance for closure.
Sometimes I feel like giving up. She was my rock.
Are you able to think about the good memories?
All the time, it's all I got, isn't it? You can't take them.
Would you say to him, he's going to watch this?
He knows where she's at. He knows what he did. I know that he has demons.